All right, well, we are learning more about this Michigan cheating network. Someone actually talking about going to the Penn State UMass game that happened a few weeks ago to spy on Penn State. You can see this article from ESPN. I spoke this afternoon with one of the people who received tickets to Big Ten games from suspended Michigan staffer Connor Stalions. He said Stalions paid him to tape the sidelines of future Michigan opponents. The man, who was a former Division III football player and coach, spoke to ESPN. And first, I want to say this is kind of interesting, like how Michigan got these people to actually do this. I'm guessing, before I even get into this article, the loophole or the gray area that Michigan is going to try and use is the idea that there was no paid staffers that was videoing these games. Because remember, when this whole thing first broke, people originally assumed that Stalions was going to games. I think it might have been reported somewhere that he was going to games, but we really don't have any evidence of that. We do have some, certain evidence that, is not 100% legitimate yet, but you can see the Oregon game possibly. I mean, this was a massive network, and this was a full-fledged network that was still going until it got completely shut down and Stalions gets put on leave. But Michigan was just completely running this crazy cheating network, and I do think they're going to try and get around this by saying, oh no, it wasn't any type of Michigan staffer that was doing this, but how are these people getting the money? It's not coming from Connor Stalions, even if you want to try and say that, oh, Stalions is a crazy kook, he's got the Michigan manifesto, he's totally delusional, he thinks he's going to be a head coach. Even if you want to say that, this guy was still standing right next to Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter during the biggest Michigan game. So it's very hard for Michigan fans to try and swing that Stalions was this low-level, irrelevant individual within Michigan football when he's literally telling Jesse Minter what defense to run on critical third downs versus Ohio State. It's on video because obviously he was stealing signs, which again, they straw man the argument and they say everyone steals signs. Yes, this is the Houston Astros 2.0. It's Astros fans saying everyone steals the catcher signs. Yes, but you have to have nuance to it. The way you steal the signs, that is absolutely critical. That's why everyone hates the Astros, and that's why everyone's going at Michigan. They straw man it and say everyone's doing it. No, you're lacking nuance. You can't do what Michigan did. That is cheating. And then they say the gray area, oh, it wasn't anyone on Michigan's staff. Well, how was it being funded? It was being funded by Michigan. And that's really what's going to do Michigan in, very likely. You can see this person said he attended 3 Big Ten games during the past 2 years to record the sideline of a future Michigan opponent. He said he uploaded the videos he took on his personal cell phone to a shared iPhone album, but does not know who else other than Stalions had access to the album. He said he was wary of Stalions' plan to a degree when he first approached to record the games, but felt that if someone from Michigan's staff was asking him to do this, then it must fall safely in the gray area of college football's sign stealing rules. It is against NCAA rules for staff members of a football program to scout games of future opponents in person. The source who spoke with ESPN on Friday said he attended games at Rutgers and Penn State last season and another game at Penn State last month. I only did a half because it was pouring rain and they were playing UMass, he said. It didn't pay well enough, so I was like, yeah, I'm not staying here. So again, apparently the Penn State UMass game that happened a few weeks ago, this dude was at and he was illegally filming the sideline of Penn State to try and get some of the video. He said that before the news of the investigation was made public, Stalions also provided him tickets to Saturday's game between Indiana and Penn State. He does not plan to attend. So again, this is happening right now. This would still be going on where Michigan would have, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different people at different games. I mean, this ranges outside of the Big Ten. There was a report that it was 35 games just within the Big Ten. And then on top of that, you've got the whole thing with South Carolina using those wristbands, possibly cheating through Michigan against Tennessee when they beat Tennessee and knocked them out of the playoff. You've got the Oregon photo, possibly Michigan's, doing the same thing with Oregon. Oregon was a possible playoff team last year because they were at 1.6-1 and ranked 6th in the country, I want to say. So that's why Michigan would be at an Oregon game last year. He said at the games that he attended, he recorded every drive from his seat in the stands, about 15 to 20 rows above field level. He said that he tried to record wide enough to include the sideline and the majority of the team's on-field formation so members of the Michigan staff would be able to sync his videos with other videos and decode the team's signals. He said that he was able to capture enough of the coaches on the sideline that their signals were visible for someone who zoomed in and recorded video. Quote, a lot of people may say that you can just rip that from the All-22, which is a wide-angle game film. Well, it's not that easy, he said. This makes it easier to mirror things up and get those tendencies, and that's a very key point because one of the defense that Michigan fans had was, oh, there's All-22, this is already all being recorded. Well, apparently, no, it's not all being recorded based off of angles. It's better to get a vantage point if you're really trying to steal signs to have the signs and then watch the play call and be able to sync those two things up. I think that's what he's saying. So it's a lot easier, from this camera shot where if you're 15 to 20 rows back on the other sideline to zoom in, get the signs, and then get the formation all in one. That's what he was doing, and that's why the whole idea. I mean, number one, why would Michigan risk this if you could just get all this on on the All-22 footage that every team gets? It makes no sense. It's not a legitimate, thing you can try and argue. Stallions purchased tickets to at least 35 total games featuring 12 other Big Ten teams and several other potential college football playoff teams during the past 3 years, according to sources. So it's been going on for 3 years, probably starting. Again, the thought process is Michigan was completely desperate after their 2-4 season. They actually canceled the rest of their season, blamed it on the pandemic because they were so bad, and then completely started doing this cheating ring the past 2 years. And when it comes to the cheating, obviously everyone's going to have an opinion on it. Every team does this. It's not that bad. You still have to go, beat them. And I get all of that. But again, like you can say that about anything. I mean, you can say that about the Houston Astros. They still have to hit home runs even if they know a fastball is coming. At some point, there's got to be some type of integrity. And if one team is stealing signs and doing so in an illegal way, it's going to be a big issue. And I'm not going to sit here and say Michigan also hacked Ohio State's practice footage from a cloud, but it's looking like that possibly could be another thing that comes out in the coming weeks. I think it's going to get really bad for Michigan if all of this stuff actually comes out and it is legitimate. Right now, the Big Ten is investigating. Again, I'm guessing Michigan's gray area, and you would think they would do something like this with the idea of saying, well, worst case scenario, we get caught. How do we swing this to where it's not illegal? They can say none of these people that filmed this footage were on Michigan staff, but again, it's how they were provided that money. The money is not coming from a rogue employee. When you look at Connor Stalions' salary at around $55,000, you take off taxes, it's probably closer to about $40K, maybe $42K. He's not funding this. So someone within Michigan was funding it. I think we have to figure out who, and that's the big thing. Maybe it was some type of booster, and they can try and say, well, the booster's not related to the football program. There certainly is going to be something elaborate here from Michigan. You would expect, considering doing something like this, if you are Michigan, you got to think this could happen. How are we going to guard against this? And obviously, Michigan has said nothing. They've been advised to say nothing as the investigation plays out, and we're just going to have to see. And again, the only real way I see right now the NCAA or the Big Ten doing, well, it wouldn't be the NCAA because they take longer on their investigations. It's just a longer process. It would be the playoff committee or the Big Ten. It would have to be made public that, there's video of Connor Stalions at some of these games or possibly another Michigan staffer. I think then the Big Ten would have to do something. And it is kind of remarkable to see this entire thing play out and intriguing to see how vast the network was, how many people did they hire to do this, how many people are going to come forward, how many videos of security are going to come out. And really, what is the paper trail with something like this? And then the idea, Jim Harbaugh, did he know, did he not know? It's really anecdotal. Obviously, there were people on the Michigan staff that knew. The defensive coordinator, I would assume, would know, considering he was changing his defensive calls based off of what Stalions was depicting on the other sideline. And then you also probably have other people, I'm sure, on Michigan staff that knew what was going on. You don't get to, be on the sideline like that right up with all the top coaches, if there's not something going on that they know about, to where it's like, okay, you can be here, we know. I think the entire staff do, to be completely honest, based off of this situation and how deep it is. But either way, guys, we will have to see what happens. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.